In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. Praise be to Allah, the cherisher, the sustainer of the worlds. Most gracious, most merciful, master of the day of judgment. Thee do we worship, and thine aid we seek, the way of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy grace, those whose portion is not wrath, and who go not astray.
Peace be upon you. The other day I received a call from a retired professor asking me to explain why Muslims hate the Christians and Jews and all the other people belonging to different religions. I said, Dr. Morris, it's an oversimplification. You know, you're a professor, you know yourself, and that's why you called me. The best bet will be for you to come to the Interfaith meeting, where you will get to hear different points of view, and then you can make your own.
The history of the world in search for the number of times peace prevailed in the last 1,000 years, sadly we realize that such an act was always short-lived. If we reflect onto those past epochs, we cease to understand that history keeps repeating itself. Since the time of the Greeks, Romans, Sassanids, and other nations, the concept of war was the symbol of power, control, and greediness. Alas, man in his nature wanted wars, but also sought after periods of peace and harmony. Thus, paradoxically, history witnessed peace to come hand in hand with struggle, violence, and bloodshed. Oddly enough, the majority of wars were conducted under the cloak of religion. Looking back, we see the Roman Empire eventually adopted Christianity to conquer more lands and people. Under the banner of the Roman Church, medieval Europe declared the senseless crusades. Again, in the name of the religion, declared war against the infidels, encouraging man to go and fight in order to become saints and martyrs in the lands of the Crusades, Palestine and Spain. And nowadays we live another form of war in the name of a religion for the past 50-60 years in Palestine. With Israel, we're eradicating the rights of the Palestinian people, putting them under the worst occupation an occupied country ever witnessed with. Assassinations, house demolitions, closures, and illegal settlement policy. And lastly, the erection of the wall.
Great event. I'm representing one Christian perspective, and as you know, it's hard for any one of us to represent any culture or any religious perspective because there's so much variance within our cultures and traditions and religions. All of us, every person, I think, in every tradition, read our sacred writings, for example, selectively. Our selectivity and our interpretations and our emphasis is what determines whether or not we use our sacred texts to justify peace or violence, exclusivity or inclusivity, unity or division, love.
So what is it that we can learn from its 5,000 years of history that is relevant to creating peace and living peacefully together? Let me start with a couplet in Sanskrit, which goes back at least 3,000 years. Akashat patitam toyam yatha gacchati sagaram sarvadeva namaskaraha keshavam pratigacchati. Just as the gentle rain descends down from the clouds and forms into various rivulets and rivers, and they take different paths, different journeys, ultimately to be united in one ocean. So you can call Allah, you can call him Christ, you can call him Buddha or Krishna. Ultimately, all your prayers end in one huge ocean. It is futile to put dimensions on this ocean and say I have the final truth on this. So we are all like those little rivulets. So number one lesson we have to learn is there is more than one way to approach the final truth. And when Hinduism has recognized that and has celebrated, it's not tolerance. I can tolerate a neighbor. It takes much more than tolerating. It is a proactive affirmation of another's point of view and willingness to live with that and celebrate our diversity. And that has to be the key, at least the first lesson I take from Hinduism.
Next we have Reverend Joel Schwarzenhoffen. He is from St. Mark's Lutheran Church.
Have my name pronounced correctly. She did it. I mean, that's well done. I love coming here, and this is the last of many times. I love the food. I love the smiles of the people, the hospitality, the I think natural inclination to reach out and to make peace. It takes me always back to my experience about 40 years ago now, when I was 20 years old and got off the boat in Tunis with $50 and hitchhiked then across. Spent the next 2 months hitchhiking across Tunisia and Libya, Egypt, up in Sudan. And it was such a grand experience for an American to be totally dependent on the goodwill and the natural loving instincts of the people. So that was my introduction to the world of Islam. People that would befriend this odd person and give him something to eat and give him shelter and most importantly give him a ride. So I saw, it was totally unrehearsed what I experienced, and it was all serendipitous, it was all just instinctive, very natural. And it hurts me then to hear people think they know about Islam or Muslims and that there are big problems there for us and they need to correct them. So my wife heard something on NPR, call-in show, Monday maybe. It's pretty hateful stuff. And somebody who had harbored all kinds of odd notions about people who are Muslim. Sad. Really sad. And it really makes this Saturday evening gathering really important for us. Really important. For what we gain here and the feeling that we gain here, the truths that we experience here, we need to find creative ways of sharing in all of our circles. And we represent, at least when we think of our circles of acquaintances, of friends, there are thousands of people in the Fox Valley that we are in touch with, that we can touch next week and in all the days ahead. Some Sunday morning I want to skip church at our place and come here and experience your Sunday school. Because I know that the children here are being taught the same thing as the children in our Sunday school. That is that God, giver of life, loves and wants us to love each other. He's the giver of peace, wants us to share that with each other.
Assalamualaikum and Shalom. This is a letter from Cantor Jeffrey Kahn. It says, I applaud your endeavor in dialoguing with representatives of many faiths about the importance of peace. Allow me to share one or two thoughts with you that you have my permission to share with the group, as I will not be able to attend due to the lateness of the Jewish Sabbath on June 19. In the Jewish prayer book known in Hebrew as the Siddur, Jewish people on a daily basis pray 3 times a day for peace. In the prayer known as the Shalom Rav, we ask God to grant true and lasting peace to the Jewish people and to all who dwell on earth, for God is the supreme sovereign of peace. We ask God to bless us with peace in every season and at all times. In the prayer known as Sim Shalom, we pray that God grant universal peace, happiness, blessing, grace, love and mercy for His people. In the prayer known as the Hashkevenu, we ask God to guard our coming and our going, to grant us life and peace, now and always.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Greeting, Shalom, peace be upon you. My subject today is Islam, the religion of peace. To talk about peace, one has to look into the teaching of Islam and to find out some aspect of peace. The root of the word Islam is Silm and Salam, which mean peace, greetings, a divine attribute of God. The other words related to the same root are As-Salama, Islam, and Muslim, which means to submit to God in peace, to live peaceful way of life, and to be a peaceful person. Therefore, Islam is a religion of peace. It is a way of life for the individual person to live in peace in every aspect of life. Hence, any person who follows the religion of peace, the religion of Islam, is called a Muslim.